History loves a conqueror. The warriors, the visionaries, the men who carved their names into civilization with steel and fire. We all know the name Genghis Khan. We see him as the lone architect of the largest land empire the world has ever seen, a force of nature who united the scattered tribes of Mongolia and unleashed them on the world. But what if that picture is incomplete? What if the secret to his success, on a scale nobody had ever seen before, wasn't just his own genius, but the brilliant, resilient woman who stood beside him? What if the story we've all been told overlooks the true center of the empire, the political strategist and steady hand who managed his world so he could go out and conquer it? This isn't the story of a conqueror's wife. This is the story of his equal. The story of Börte Üjin, the first empress of the Mongol Empire. On the vast, windswept steppes of 12th century Mongolia, life was a brutal dance of survival. Nomadic tribes clashed over scarce resources, alliances shifted like the seasons, and your worth was measured by your family connections. Into this world, around the year 1161, a girl named Borte was born into the respected Angarat tribe. She was the daughter of the chief, Dai Sechin, a man of high standing. Ancient chronicles described her as beautiful, but more importantly, as possessing a sharp intelligence that was obvious to everyone she met. Meanwhile, a boy named Temujin, the future Genghis Khan, was coming of age in a less prominent clan. His father, a minor chieftain named Jochi, had big plans for him. Back then, marriage was a power move, a contract that could make or break a family. When Temujin was just 9, his father took him to find a bride who could raise their family's status. They were heading toward his mother's people, but fate had other plans. They ran into Dai Sechin, Borte's father. As one legend tells it, Dai Sechin had a prophetic dream that foretold their arrival. Seeing it as a sign, he proposed a match between his 10-year-old daughter, Borte, and the 9-year-old Temujin. A deal was struck. Jochi left his son with his future in-laws to learn their ways, a common practice to build a strong bond between the families. This betrothal was more than a childhood promise, it was the first rung on the ladder of Temujin's rise. The alliance with the powerful Angarat gave him a legitimacy he desperately needed. But tragedy struck. On his way home, Temujin's father was poisoned by a rival tribe. His world shattered. With their leader gone, their clan abandoned the family, leaving a young widow and her children to fend for themselves in utter poverty. For years, Temujin endured hardship, betrayal, and even slavery. But he never forgot the promise he made. Around 1178, hardened by the unforgiving steppe, he returned to claim his bride. Borte, now a young woman, married him, finally sealing the deal made nearly a decade earlier. Her dowry wasn't gold, but something far more valuable, a magnificent black sable jacket. It was a symbol of incredible wealth and prestige. Temujin, ever the strategist, knew exactly what to do with it. He gave this precious gift to Toghrul, a powerful Khan, and a former ally of his father. That single act of diplomacy, paid for by his wife's dowry, won him a powerful patron and reignited his political career, allowing him to finally start gathering followers. The marriage to Borte wasn't just the start of his family, it was a pivotal moment that laid the foundation for everything to come. The newlywed bliss of Temujin and Borte was violently short-lived. The steppes held long grudges. Years before, Temujin's own father had stolen his wife, Hoilan, from a man of the Merkit tribe. The Merkits never forgot the dishonor, and they were just waiting for the right moment for revenge. Shortly after the wedding, a Merkit raiding party attacked Temujin's camp. In the chaos, Temujin and his family fled on horseback, but there was no horse left for Borte. A servant tried to hide her in a cart, but she was found and captured. This wasn't random, it was a targeted strike. It was personal. Temujin was devastated. The Secret History of the Mongols, the oldest Mongolian literary work, says his bed was made empty and his breast was torn apart. But his grief quickly hardened into resolve. The abduction of Borte became the one event that transformed him from a minor leader into a man who could unite armies. He turned to the powerful allies he had made, Toghrul, the Khan he'd won over with Borte's dowry, and his childhood blood brother, Jamuka. Together, they gathered a massive army to declare war on the Merkits. For several agonizing months, Borte was a captive, forcibly given as a wife to one of her captors. Finally, Temujin's coalition launched its surprise attack. The Merkits scattered. The reunion story from the secret history is pure drama. Amid the chaos, Temujin rode through the camp, shouting her name, Borte, Borte. Recognizing his voice, she jumped from a cart and ran to him. They found each other in the dark and fell into each other's arms. The rescue was a huge military and political victory. It sent a clear message: Temujin was a power to be reckoned with. But their reunion was complicated. Borte was pregnant. Soon after her return, she gave birth to a son, Jochi. The timing, after months in captivity, cast a shadow of doubt over who his father was. In fact, the name Jochi can be translated as guest, which many scholars see as a quiet acknowledgement of this uncertainty. The question of his paternity would haunt their family for generations. Years later, a bitter argument erupted where their second son, Chagatai, publicly called Jochi a bastard of a Merkit. The deep rift between the brothers was a major factor in Genghis Khan's later decision to bypass both of them and name his third son, Ogdi, as his successor. In this moment of crisis, the true strength of their partnership was revealed. While others whispered, Temujin made his choice. He publicly and unequivocally accepted Jochi as his own son, treating him as his firstborn. This was a powerful statement of his bond with Borte. He refused to let his enemies define his family. By accepting Jochi, he protected Borte's honor and solidified his own dynasty, even if private doubts lingered. This ordeal didn't break them. It forged an unbreakable bond and set Temujin on the path to becoming the Great Khan. In 1206, after uniting the warring tribes, Temujin was named Genghis Khan, ruler of all Mongols. While he led his armies on campaigns from China to the Middle East, a different kind of power was being wielded back home. Borte, now the Grand Empress or Khatan, wasn't just waiting around. She was the anchor of the Mongol world. While other, junior wives sometimes joined the Khan on campaigns, Borte almost always remained in the Mongol heartland. This wasn't a slight, it was a position of enormous trust. She ruled her own vast territory along the Kurlan River, and assisted in administering the central Mongol homeland alongside the Khan's youngest brother, Temujin. She commanded her own court, or ordo, a massive, mobile camp that was like a city on the move, with thousands of servants, shepherds, guards, and wagons. She was essentially the manager of the imperial household, handling the resources and logistics that kept the empire running, but her influence went way beyond that. Borte was a sharp political advisor, and Genghis Khan deeply respected her judgment. Some interpretations of history credit Borte with giving him critical advice at key moments. For instance, in one intimate scene from the chronicles, the Khan's youngest brother Ochijin burst into their tent seeking urgent help against a rival tribe. Before Genghis could speak, Borte intervened passionately from their bed, vividly describing the rival's cruelty, and the Khan immediately decided to aid his brother. As his friendship with his blood brother Jamuka soured into a dangerous rivalry, it was supposedly Borte who warned her husband of the threat, advising him to break away and secure his own power, a move that likely saved his life. Another story suggests she was the one who urged the Khan to deal with a powerful shaman whose ambition threatened the unity of the imperial family. Whether these stories are literal fact or later legends, they show that she was seen as a voice of reason and a stabilizing force in his court. However, Borte's most lasting legacy was her children. She gave birth to 4 sons, Jochi, Chagatai, Ogdi, and Talyui, and several daughters, including the eldest Kochin Beki, also known as Chechiagan in some sources. While Genghis Khan had other children, it was only Borte's sons who were seen as his primary heirs, destined to inherit the empire. And they did. Jochi's descendants founded the Golden Horde, which dominated the Rus principalities for centuries. Chaghatay's line ruled Central Asia. Ogedai succeeded his father as the second Great Khan, and Talyui's sons, including the famous Kublai Khan, would go on to rule the heart of the empire and establish the Yuan dynasty in China. Her daughters were just as important. They were married to the leaders of allied kingdoms in a strategy sometimes called daughter diplomacy, securing the empire's borders and cementing critical alliances. Many of these women became powerful figures in their own right. Borte outlived her husband, dying around 1230. For his entire life, she remained his first and most senior wife, his chief confidant, and his most respected advisor. In a world where rulers had many wives, her position was unshakable. History gives us this image of Genghis Khan as a lone wolf, a man who bent the world to his will through sheer force. But to see him that way is to miss half the story. The empire he built was not the work of one man, it was a partnership. Without Borte's dowry, he might never have won over his first major ally. Without her abduction, he may not have found the unifying cause to rally the tribes. Without her counsel, he could have fallen to his rivals. Without her steady hand managing the homeland, his long campaigns might have been impossible. And without her children, his empire would have had no future. She wasn't just the woman behind the man, she was a co-founder of the Mongol Empire. An administrator, a diplomat, a strategist, and the matriarch of a dynasty that reshaped the world. Her life is a powerful reminder of the influential women in history whose stories have been left in the shadows. The story of the Mongol Empire isn't just his story, it's theirs. And at the center of it all was Empress Borte. If you were surprised to learn about the incredible life of Empress Borte, let us know in the comments below. History is filled with powerful women whose stories have been overlooked. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next journey into the untold stories of the past. Thanks for watching.